What is going on, Guardians, and welcome back to another Destiny 1 gameplay video. Hey, in this video I wanted to show you guys just some footage from a Destiny 1 stream that I did today and highlight some super fun moments and break down for a bit what made Destiny 1 so playable for so long and how maybe we can glean from it some good insight on how to best proceed with the development of Destiny 2's overall PvP sandbox experience. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm committed to doing anything that I can do to help Destiny 2 through its growing pains. And the recent leadership that we've seen from Chris Barrett in particular has given a lot of people in the community a bit of hope and some optimism about the future of Destiny 2. So what was it about Destiny 1 that was so great? What was it, the balance and the sandbox? I think absolutely not. You know, we wanted to keep the sandbox as balanced as we could while promoting diversity, especially in weapon and subclass choices for like 3 years. But the balance was never the thing that kept us coming back. At least it's not what kept me hooked for years. There are a few things that I can pinpoint as some of the key features of Destiny 1 that contributed to its addictive nature. The first is the hero formula, the environment that helped even common players feel like heroes, like they were amazing, even for just a few seconds out of an entire match. They could be having a terrible match, but hit one great clip and walk away feeling amazing about themselves and their performance. But how do you quantify that hero formula? How do you measure it and recreate it in a new way in a new game? Having played both games recently and having compared the two experiences, I could say that the pace of Destiny 1 is definitely a factor. The movement speed, the aerial movement that players utilize is a factor. You know, we walk on our 2 feet every day of our lives, and being able to Titan skate, Warlock skate, zip around all nibbly-bibbly with directional controlled boost jumps on a hunter, it makes us feel less pedestrian in a game. We feel much more like heroes. Another factor is how quickly we can eliminate other players, allowing us to move on to the next target, right? 3 kills in 4 seconds, for example, feels like a frick ton more heroic than 3 kills in 15 seconds. One is basically a short streak, and the other is a clip, a heroic moment. And when those kills are often all contained within just 1 or 2 actual motions of your character, you feel even more heroic, like a simple sliding 3-tap with a hand cannon into it, a jump hand cannon throwing knife into a directional jump shotgun blast to a third player's face feels BA as fudge. But 4-tapping a guy while you stand in a lane, waiting for the next, 4-tapping him, and then pushing up into the lane to try and find a third player to eliminate with a different quote-unquote primary weapon feels dramatically less memorable and dramatically less heroic. I mean, you may even complete the match and forget that those 3 kills ever happened. Another factor in the hero formula is the weapon system, I think. I like the weapon system in Destiny 2, but I prefer the system in Destiny 1. I think the reason for that is that the frequency of things like shotgunning someone out of a super, for example, or quick scoping or no scoping someone in the face or out of the air, the frequency was much greater because we had a special weapon with ammo constantly being fed into it, and we could do those things much more frequently. You didn't have to fight your teammates for that ammo either. You could get a handful of sick, lucky kills with specials in an hour of gaming. But in D2, since you sometimes go an entire match with having only acquired power ammo just once or even none at all because you were never in the right place at the right time, you could game for 3 hours and have only a few memorable power ammo kills. It's easy to tune out of a game or grow bored of it if there's too much time in between cool special / power weapon kills like quick scopes or super shutdowns or one single well-placed shot, into a supering opponent. I don't know what the answer is for that problem in Destiny 2. I mean, I like the new weapon system. I'm not sure if we should ditch it or not, to be honest. I really don't know where I stand on that, but I do believe that we need to get our hands on more sniper fusion and shotgun ammo and not have to box out our teammates to do it. But our primaries do need to be able to compete closely with those weapons too if that ammo is going to be made more available. Another factor that made Destiny 1 so playable for so long was the ability to perform well in spite of your teammates' performances. In Destiny 1, your personal performance wasn't always necessarily so heavily dependent on how well your teammates performed. You could often see scoreboards where at the end of a game, 2 players were below a 1.0 KD, and then there's the one guy who has like a 3.2. And even though his teammates had an off game, he wasn't too heavily penalized for their poor performance during that match. He or she was still able to secure kills without their teammates constantly shooting at their sides at the same opponents. And I also think that map design plays into this a little bit too. Like, Destiny 1 was much less heavily focused on lane-oriented maps. A lot of D1 maps were sort of strangely asymmetrical, and even the ones that were fairly lane-focused, they still had strange ups and downs and shapes and boulders and train cars on Exodus Blue and Top Bridge, Mid Bridge, Bottom Bridge, creeks, Pride Rock on Frontier, and all these things that break up sightlines and allow solo players to limit their engagements to like a series of 1v1s much more easily. And Destiny 2's maps are undoubtedly much more balanced, and I believe are exceptionally well made, but they could use more, clutter, I guess is the word I'd use for it, as long as the time to kill is reduced to accommodate for the fact that players would get to cover more quickly. I don't know. Anyways, this is just some of the thoughts that are swirling around in my head today after spending several hours in the Destiny 1 Crucible that had me hooked for so long. And it wasn't perfect. I think it's easy to look back and think so fondly on D1, but I remember pissing and moaning for years about how broken this was and that was and how frustrating this experience was, right? But D1, it's easy to look back on it and remember it so fondly. It wasn't perfect, and the meta that we went out on was pretty lackluster, but it was home, and I think there's a reason for that. And I think some of these reasons that I listed today are just a handful of those. So, well, thanks for listening, and I guess I'll catch you in one of the various Crucible lobbies we have to choose from between D1 and D2. All right, peace.